What is up, down, and sideways? You beautiful people. We are back. It's League Unlock. Eric and Mark here, and we are singing praises. Thank the Lord. Because MSI is here, we got actual games on the Rift to talk about.
Oh yeah, man. It is finally time. We've got the big event. It's all on. Everybody's at the event. They're in the arena. They're there.
Stage games? What?
They're logging in. We're playing LAN. We're playing League of Legends. MSI, let's go.
And apparently, in the first game, some people were playing different forms of League of Legends. But of course, we're starting with the first game of the day to kick things off. Damwon versus C9. And before everybody jumps on the easy Flame NA train, they got stomped in 27 minutes, Mark. This game was competitive, and there were absolutely windows where Cloud9 at the very least could have taken control of this game.
This is one where, unfortunately, the scorecard doesn't have pictures for C9. You look at it at the end of the day, and you see the game time, you see the 1 in the Damwon column and a 0 in the C9 column. Yep. Yeah, people are going to want to get on the NA sucks, the NA Flame bandwagon, sure. But you watch the game, you see how it happened. Absolutely, you need to understand that there are various points in this game where C9's winning, and not just winning because of the compositions. They're legitimately winning in this game, the way it's going, the way that they want to have it go. They make some mistakes, and obviously those are very crucial mistakes because you can't make many mistakes, let alone the severity of the mistakes C9 made in the Damwon, and the Damwon players that were in a very strong position to punish Mr. Khan in the top side. Absolutely gonna be critical blows.
So you want to throw the positives, and first off, you heard everybody talking about the draft. It's an easy draft win for Cloud9. Damwon has no business winning with this kind of a comp. We've seen them do that in the LCK finals, even win with a comp that has no business winning. But the early game goes pretty bad for Cloud9 because Canyon was all over Blabber in terms of pathing. He quickly got a 2-level advantage, and to defend Blabber a little, Cloud9 were not playing around Heralds, or not Heralds, Rift Scuttlers, or their jungler nearly as well as they did around Canyon.
Yeah, and I think that's a very important thing for Cloud9 to realize moving forward is that, in these situations, and as you've looked at, we saw the positives. You saw Perks pop off. You saw him provide that level of pushback against someone like Showmaker. You saw the bottom lane, Sven, Vulcan, find their way to make contributions for the team. As we've talked, you knew that Fudge was going to be an issue where you were going to lose ground.
But some of those plays, even as Fudge, you're like, that can't happen.
Absolutely, and that deserves its own, flame and conversation for sure, and especially time moving forward to improve upon. Absolutely. But you mentioned Blabber and kind of this thrown to the wolves type of mentality. We're sure he made some mistakes himself. But we've talked about this before with the jungler position. This is not your solo queue where you can just go, stupid jungler, blame them type of situation. You're a team. You got to work together. You got to find your ways. And to be in the moment and to not recognize that as the rest of the Cloud9 members or Blabber to be vocal about it and try to fix it, try to correct course in some of these situations, that is another mistake on the team, and one that you can't be counting on and you can't be making against the quality of opponent like Damwon.
Yeah, those two key moments for Fudge where he does get caught out on the gangplank, he absolutely has no business being there, especially against Dinar, who could so easily chase you down. That's supposed to be the counterpick matchup where Gangplank wins that lane. Not only did he not win the laning phase, but as soon as some of these teamfight skirmishes started happening, I mean, both those plays, Khan just catches them out, annihilates them, and then gets a sick Gnar ulti to win the team fight.
And what we saw in the NA playoffs, right? The LCS playoffs, you had Fudge much more on the tank duty, right? The tank role, what he was providing for the team.
Might get demoted back.
It might be pushed back to that because Gangplank is absolutely not a tank. And the problem, as we see with these type of mistakes, is, well, if you make that mistake on a Scion, well, you actually might live to get out of it, or
or you're at least baiting. You're baiting the entire team in.
Right, or the Scion goes down. Oh, it's not as big of a loss, but Gangplank goes down. Well, that's a problem, right? You're not out there. You're not getting the gold. You're not making sure these type of things. You're not putting the pressure out there. Needs to be a different situation on the Gangplank. You have much more of a responsibility. Unfortunately, in many aspects, Fudge and on the rest of the cart, C9 failed. That failure was still competitive with Damwon. There were still enough positives to be in that category. But at the end of the day, yeah, people aren't wrong. It is that 1-0 for Damwon and that 0 for Cloud9 to start the day.
Even though there was a goal deficit in the early, I mean, we hardly even got to late game in this match, but Cloud9 had no turrets in this game, and they were still in the match. So these outer turrets are going to get knocked down so easily. So there was that standing gold sitting there that Cloud9 could eventually maybe claw back into the game. But Damwon, despite a lackluster performance from Beryl, I'll say he had a fun time on the Leona in this game. It was all about
he was just debuting the skin. That's what it was all about.
I mean, I see them lock in Jhin and Leona, and I'm like, they're just playing their skins, right? That's the whole point.
Sometimes you gotta show off, you gotta flex for the crowd. And game 1 of MSI, no better time.
Expected result from the first match. Maybe you have a bit of positives if you're an NA fan, and don't be too harsh on Fudge. It's game 1 of MSI, guys. But yes, he did make some mistakes. Jump into the last match of the day, because this was the other exciting one that we saw on the schedule. MAD versus PSG. You maybe saw some windows for Cloud9 to get into the game against Damwon. The window for PSG was level 1, because they had a good invade against the red buff where they deny the red buff, they chunk Carzzy, and then they immediately throw that away level 2. And this game, especially the first 6 minutes, you really felt like PSG missed Unified.
The problem, as you said, is that window, right? That level 1 window that was there for PSG to find their foothold in the game, to get away in this. Well, the problem was someone realized, oh man, it's really cold in here. Shut that window. Get it closed. It was shut right away, and it was Carzzy doing the Goomba stomp with the Tristana, the one that was sent back to making sure you're going back to Fountain with the low health from the start of that invade, making sure that it was coming through, shutting that window, shutting down any chances. You're right. When you're looking at the replacement, Doggo for PSG certainly looked out of place himself, and the rest of the team around him looked out of communication and certain things at certain points. But overall, it was more than just that with what the Mad Lions provided and how they played out certain situations. This is good. This is what you're feeling happy about if you're the LEC, because this went better than you should have expected. And better than you should have expected based off of the performances of the Mad Lions, not because PSG slipped up.
Yeah, and it was the bot lane in particular, the one that everybody's criticized, and Elyoya played around them. Kaiser was absolutely nutty with some of these hooks on the Nautilus, and I mean, Maple picks the set into a rise. You know that Humanoid's going to have a field day, and he was dominating the laning phase.
Yeah, that was a questionable choice, I think, in my opinion. I think when you saw what you wanted to maybe have the set provide value for the team later on, sure, you can make these type of arguments, but absolutely into that laning and into what you should expect to be the most deadly, the most potent part of the Mad Lions, the most skilled part in Humanoid. You question that one from Maple. Yes, he's got the experience and the veteran status, but that one's not in my books of what I would be going for. You mentioned the bot lane and how they performed, and people talking about this being a weakness heading into the event. I think people should have realized, well, the weakness part was never really about the actual quality of the players and what they can do. It was how they were performing and how they performed
decisions,
through the later half.
Diving turrets 2v2.
Right, through the later half of spring for the LEC. It was never about what they could provide and what level of play they do have and what skill. And when they convert on that skill, on the choices, you saw it in this one, absolutely. Kaiser specifically out of that bot lane duo. Sure, Carzzy deserves the credit and how he was, stood through the beginning phase and being pushed out and everything else, getting behind early, finding the way to have the power, sure. But Kaiser's engages were absolutely the nutty part from the bot lane, making sure that it was the big advantages for the Mad Lions.
And the top side of the map, and we'll touch on this pick throughout the day, the Lee Sin solo lane, we saw it in a couple of these games. Armut piloting it. I think it was the first time we had it top lane today. It feels like a different champion when you max E first on Lee Sin. That's all I'll say.
It's massively different. And I mean, at least in Armut's favor, he didn't look like someone playing Lee Sin for the first time, because that's something when we had with the ADCs having to pick up all the mages a couple of years ago, you had them not looking out of place, the double lifts Vladimir, right? That's what we were seeing with a couple of these Lee Sins today. Not the normal Lee Sin, and especially, again, You're not playing it the way the jungle style, Lee Sin. You're not building it. You're not maxing out these things the
Not
same
many
way.
insects today, despite all the Lee Sins.
Yeah, but hopefully we'll get a little bit of improvement on that if we're going to see him stick around. That needs to be held to the same standard. But absolutely very different in the way that it was piloted through the laning phase specifically for me. That's where I thought Armut shined through on this pick and making it have its value.
This solo lane Lee Sin, the kick is made just for executing. It's only for the one shot to kill them. You're not kicking them anywhere because you're kicking their body right into the ground.
It's the short range Urgot ult. That's what it is for these guys.
It's a more satisfying sound effect though. So Mad start off 1-0, a very impressive win against what's supposed to be their biggest competition in Group B. The biggest competition for RNG in Group A is probably RNG. I would say it's their own mental against themselves, but they did kick things off against Pentanet, and Pentanet are memeing their whole way through this tournament. You saw them with the whiteboard throughout the day. I'm all for that, but this game truly showed. You talk about Rumble Jungle. It sounds crazy coming into it, and you say, it can't be that good. Why should people be banning that? Just watch this game and tell me you shouldn't ban Rumble.
Everything that we want to talk about, one of the things I want to mention heading into this event, this seems to be one of the first events that we've had, such a big change, right, in the patches, but we've always hyped up, this pick, this type of pick, this change, this is what's going to come through. Well, on the day, we actually had almost all of them, right? You had the Rumble Jungle, you had Morgana coming through, you had the Lee Sin solo lanes. This was a nice, fresh change of pace, of course. As you talked about,
and then you quickly want it out of your game when you see 20 minutes of it.
This one is going to be quickly banned out many times, and especially away from Wei. The power that it is, the flexibility that Rumble still has, is a very capable solo laner. If you're going to have to shift out of that jungle idea, definitely can't be leaving it around. Pentanet feels the burn absolutely from Wei very early. And very often in this short game that they had against them. I think one of the very important things to keep in mind, as you said, yes, with the memes, still with Pentanet, of any team with Pabu is of course going to be on top of the meme game.
Yeah, the Fiddlesticks didn't even touch on that, counteracting the Rumble, sort of.
Hey, he had some farm going for him. Aside from that,
he had the one good ult and the engage where it looks like Pentanet could maybe get back into the game. Of course, ends up being a quadra for Wei,
and that's what I want to talk about, because specifically not just that moment, but how Pentanet approaches it, how they go in, how they make that engage, what they're willing to do for these plays, and with the champions. That's what I want to talk about, because aside from just RNG, you have to take care of business against the Unicorns of Love, as we know, and you need to find some type of momentum, some type of edge, because unfortunately, if you're just going straight up skill or straight up, how you've been practicing, you're going to lose that one. We've seen that one play out. You need that extra advantage. But one of the things with this change in the patches and the champions being so fresh and so different is there are some things that are busted that you can sneak in and take advantage of it. The solo lane Lee Sin, the Rumble Jungle, the Fiddlesticks that we've seen. These type of things, and I think having, an open mind approach to it and putting it into your games, that's Pentanet's chance. That's what I've seen early on in the day, because outside of that, I don't think there is a chance.
Yeah, at one point in this game, didn't even touch on him yet, but Jahu's Gnar had a 3-level lead over Biopanther's Urgot.
We can't talk about what his Gnar was doing, my man. That's not fair, because we just told everybody, doing the guessing game with the stats that, not a lot of things go right for Xiaohu and Lane in this situation. Not going to be the focus. He's going to just be there and be steady.
It was pretty steady.
A little bit of a pop-off for your boy.
Yeah, that was pretty steady. Him and Khan both dueling just who is the best Gnar at this tournament. And eventually we're going to see them play against each other. Maybe they'll be settling that bet. Next game, you had Pain versus the Fast Pay Wildcats, or the Istanbul Wildcats. And this was the closest match of the day for sure. Probably the most exciting when you're talking about actual back and forth, because the Wildcats jumped out to a very early lead. You had some crazy 1v2 dives against the set top lane where Starscreen was turning those around, and we were at a kill a minute pace for much of the early game, and it looked like the TCL was running away with it.
We were almost at a kill a minute pace strictly for the Istanbul Wildcats, my man.
Don't even care about Pain at that point.
That's how insane this one was. But then you're right. It was the back and forth. That's the big one. The competitiveness of this game is that you had Istanbul getting out to such an advantage, but then they got a little bit too greedy, a little bit too sloppy, and you saw that Pain was there. They were prepared, and they had the composition, especially, to be ready for it.
It's a tale as old as time, Mark. You get incredibly fed on an 80 carry, and you flash in and try and kill everybody and die immediately. How many times have we done that? Well, I have to get fed to do that first, so not that often.
Yeah, well, that's a hard step in the first place, but every ADC, I don't care what skill level you are, you've been there whether you're fed or not, flashing into the enemy team.
You gotta get your montage moment.
Absolutely. You don't, it's not gonna happen unless you try, and we tried for this one, and unfortunately...
Holy Phoenix, he tried on the Samira, and then it ended up being...
Samira, big rejection on that one.
Yeah, he ended up getting stuffed and proceeded to get dunked by Robo's Darius. It's that fight in the jungle that absolutely gets Pain back into the game. And then after that, the Wildcats, they have the Rumble pick, but I've never seen one-man Rumble ultis just to slow somebody.
Yeah, it was not... The coordination on these choices and everything else from that point really slipped away. And that was, to me, a panic on being on this level of a stage, this situation and what you want, and getting out to your best foot and going, hey, we were in control. What's going on? We were ahead. What's that? You got to be able to regroup, keep your mental cool. Unfortunately, not able to. And it is the veterans on the side of Pain Gaming, BRTT, saying, look, we're in this, guys. I don't care 0-3. Who cares? I'm going to win the game. Found a way to make sure the power was there.
He was very behind and useless in the early game when you get behind on that Trist. But yeah, he did bounce back in a big way. Robo, as I mentioned, all the CBLOL fans, the 90, 50, 10% predictions coming in. The 10% for them was Robo plays a tank. So I hope we get to see more picks like Darius out of him. But Pain coming back for that win. And the Wildcats almost defended in their base with 3 inhibs down to survive, but one final fight, and Pain does eventually take it. This was the longest game of the day, and again, the most exciting. And it's an important one for who's going to be vying, especially maybe PSG loses one. These squads could be vying for that number 2 spot, potentially in that Group B. The other matches on the day, the Infinity eSports versus Detonation Focus Me. If you told me this was not on 11.9, I don't think they got the memo that the patch changed, Mark.
This is the unfortunate one. Out of all the matches that we've been talking about on the day, and the hype and the excitement that they had brought, and some fresh picks coming through.
Well,
not exactly this. A couple of them were, we had some bans fixing some of that, sure. But outside of that, this was, as you said, this was the 11.6 match.
Udyr versus Hecarim. Huh. Sounds familiar.
No, thank you. No, thank
you. Infinity in this one, though, it was solo kills across the board early. You had Cody on the SYLAS getting a very early solo kill. White Lotus was 2v2ing, something they did all throughout the season in the Latin American scene. DFM did some dives top. They camped the living hell out of top, actually, to get back into this game. And then there's a great engage that it looks like it's going the way of DFM, but a couple of fights, it's just extended, and Infinity Esports, they come out ahead in the team fighting.
This is one that very much, to me, is providing that it's going to be all about Damwon and Cloud9 in this group, is what we've seen.
That's what this game
from
did
this
for
one.
you.
And that's not meant to be that these ones won't be able to provide, and especially, I guess more so importantly, an actual competition to Cloud9 and have a chance to pull off an upset and push them down into this territory. Sure, that's more than possible. But what we've seen from this one and how stagnant it seemed this match, not getting my vote, my man.
Yeah, it was a little bit back and forth, and I'll highlight CODY'S SYLAS performance, because he's the main reason they got back into this game and carried a lot of these team fights. He had some damn clean mechanics on him, so that's the big positive you're taking if you're Infinity. Another struggle or loss for Japan on the international stage, but again, only day one of MSI. Last game to touch on, Pentanet GG, the only squad that plays 2 games, and this is where the whiteboard came in. They had a nice sign that said the Unicorns of Loss. You know what? I love it. I love it. You got to do it.
I love it, but it's a very dangerous game, because you start putting pictures with the whiteboard. The meme potential is big, and as unfortunately,
I think they knew that.
Unfortunately, it was not the unicorns of loss for the Pentanet boys, and that whiteboard's been used a different way against them.
Yeah, it wasn't pretty on the Rift. This time they said, you know what? That Rumble was completely busted. Let's run that ourselves in the mid lane. But unfortunately, didn't quite have the same effect.
No.
If it's not Wei playing it, maybe it's a little different.
Not Wei playing it and playing it into no man's. Not having a good time against
Rough
that.
against an Orianna too. You're not really doing much against that pick.
As I said with the flex, Orianna's not exactly where you're wanting to flex the Rumble into. That one,
no.
In any position of power, that's not really the matchup that Rumble is really excited about.
Yeah, kind of countering yourself on that one. But this one was pretty clear from the get-go. There wasn't much chance for Pen to net back into this game. It was low and slow. Low kills, slow game, but Unicorns were only slowly adding on to a huge gold lead to pick up their first win in the tournament. Pentanet goes to 0-2. And that's... There weren't any huge upsets, I would say, on day one. Maybe the biggest surprise was how badly Mad Lions beat up on PSG for me.
Yeah, I think because unfortunately, just maybe the time and maybe one fudge mistake away from saying, I think how Cloud9 performed against Damwon could be a bit of a surprise for some people, even as much as we've talked about the potential for them to compete and potentially get an upset against a team like Damwon of their quality. Still would have been a bit surprised with that, but you're right. It has to go to just how convincing Mad Lions played. Because again, yes, the problems were very clear with PSG and adapting with Doggo in as the replacement, sure. But that does not explain the level of excellency and performance that we saw from the Mad Lions today, which leaves you feeling double thumbs up happy moving forward for them.
So the big day one overreactions. Pain Gaming are the favorites to get second at the very least in Group B, and Cloud9 are going to go winless.
Yep, there it is. You heard it first, right here on League Unlocked. No faith in Cloud9.
Yeah, you saw pretty much immediately after that game, almost everyone from Cloud9 tweeting something. Fudge said, I believe, paraphrasing here, bit of an int in the mid game. We'll be back better next time. People were calling, and Perks kind of referenced it himself. He's not picking scaling picks like Victor next time. He's going to be involved in that early game.
Yeah, and that's more than fair. I think that's an adaptation that you can talk about and wanting to bring into the next one. But let's not lose sight, right? Let's not lose sight of where we are in MSI and what you need to be focusing on as Cloud9. Because, yes, we want that match. We want that upset win against Damwon. But we want to make sure that we're making it to the next round of this event. Yeah, because let's not forget, we're North America. And we need to make sure we're making it to the next round of these international events.
You go 0-2 against Damwon, you're going to get to play them again. You got to shore up the wins against Infinity and DFM, which they will have a chance to in day 2. Remember, guys, it's day 1. There's 6 days of just this first round of group stage action, and then it's going to get into what they're calling the Rumble round or the Rumble day when it's down to the top 6. But only day 1 of MSI in the books for now. That is it for League Unlock. Eric and Mark here with you guys. Thanks for hanging. We'll catch you on the Flippity Flip.